I'm going to assume that we're live right now. Gosh, all right. So hopefully maybe people can see me right now. But yeah, so this is going to be the first AYM College Bridge webinar. But before we begin, I'm joined with my AYM College mentors, Kyle and Ethan. And, something I'm curious about, Kyle and Ethan, is what is your favorite part about being a college student? So Ethan, did you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. My favorite part about being a college student is probably the independence. I think high school is really straightforward. Kind of just go to school and there's not that much more. But yeah, there's a lot more free time. Not to say that there's no work. There's obviously a lot of work too, but there are just many opportunities to explore different things in college and find out what you're interested in and what you're passionate about and what matters to you.
Awesome. And how about you, Kyle?
The best thing that I love about college is the community that you can find here. You go to high school, there's maybe like, if you go to a big high school, 600, 800 people. Well, I went to a really small high school. It only had like 100 people in the graduating class. And so it can be really difficult to find a community, find people who, match your interests. In college, there's so many people, a lot of different clubs out there, a lot of different, things you can check out and just groups you can join. And here in college, I found a group that, has made it feel like home, away from home.
Awesome. So, anywho's, I am going to begin the presentation now. And one moment, please. We will start momentarily. All right. So, thank you guys for your patience. I apologize for the technical difficulties. I'm going to share my screen now. All right, can everyone see that screen? I think everyone's working. So anywho's, hello everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into our very first AYM College Bridge webinar. My name is Nick and I am one of the staff mentors for Area Youth Ministry, also known as AYM. Now you might be asking the question, what is AYM? Well, we're a nonprofit organization with a mission to bless our communities and help high school students through the ups and the downs of life. And we also connect students with like-minded peers and mentors, equip and inspire them to be agents of God's love. And we're comprised of a group of Christian college students and mentors. And now AYM College Bridge, this is a weekly opportunity to help students in the transition from high school to college in all areas of life, and including faith. And we want to be a resource for students and a source of blessing. And now, without further ado, I want to hand it off to the AYM College mentors, Ethan and Kyle. They will introduce themselves and the webinar topic for today. So take it away, Ethan.
Hey everyone, my name is Ethan. I'm a junior studying computer science and cognitive science at Cal. So glad you're here with us today. Our webinar today is going to be about the major factors in choosing a college. So I know that some of you are probably in the process of deciding where to attend school in the fall, while others maybe have already committed. Regardless, we hope that this webinar will be useful and interesting to you guys. So we'll start by discussing a few major considerations that are generally applicable to most people. And then we'll be spending some time sharing from our own personal experiences in both choosing where to attend college and also our reflections on being at Berkeley after our first few years here. So before we get into it, Kyle, do you want to quickly introduce yourself too?
Yes, sir. All right, what's up, everybody? My name is Kyle Gong, and I'm a sophomore studying political science at UC Berkeley. And I'm a member of Koinonia Fellowship here at Cal. And before we get started, yeah, I'm so glad you could join us. So here we go, the 5 factors of what you should know before committing to college.
All right, here they are.
All right, and so the 5 factors are cost and how much financial aid you're going to be able to receive, the academics, safety, student life, and location. Let's do them. Let's step through them right now. All right, so the first factor we're going to start off with is cost. All right, so you guys should know how much your tuition you're going to be paying, right? Typically, in-state tuition is going to be cheaper than out-of-state tuition. For example, Cal's in-state tuition is around $14,000, And Cal's out-of-state tuition is around $36,000. Now that's a really, really big difference. So, you got to decide whether you want to go to college in-state or out-of-state. And you should know that out-of-state tuition is generally going to be more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, another factor that's good to consider is just academics. And if you have a good idea of what you want to study in college, it would be a really good idea to research the strength of your particular program or your major or department at the different schools that you're considering. In particular, you might want to look into the school's reputation with the major, availability of research opportunities related to your interests, if that's applicable to you, and or just the job prospects in your field of interest.
All right, next up is safety. Now, for all you parents who might be watching this, you might be concerned about the safety of your child as they go off to college. They're going to be off on their own, and you want to make sure nothing shady is going on, right? Well, all colleges have various safe things to be, that makes them safer or unsafer, but what matters is the programs that are in place, that the university has in order to combat these safety issues, right? So some things you might want to look into is what kind of safety considerations is the school taking? What are the crime rates in the area you're looking for? For example, UC Berkeley has these programs called Bear Walk and the Night Shuttle in order to get you around your various classes at night. So those are some things you might want to look into.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, another factor to consider is just the student life. This is actually really important because there is, believe it or not, a lot more to college than just academics. So the topic of student life is pretty broad. It can refer to like understanding the vibe of the student population, or opportunities to explore and invest in your hobbies and interests. And also, it would be good to learn about what the day-to-day of a typical student at the different colleges that you're looking into might look like. So obviously, this could be really different for two students at the same college who might have really different interests and backgrounds, but I think there is a good way to get a general sense and intuition for this aspect. My personal advice for you guys is to just try and talk to as many students as you can who attend the schools that you're considering and just ask them to talk about their own personal experiences there. Usually you'll get a pretty good sense of the vibe of the college just by asking them those questions.
Mm.
All right, last up, we got location. Now, some of you may be wondering, why does location matter? I just plan on spending my entire academic life between the dorms, the campus and the library. So why do I need to know about location? Well, for a majority of you, you're like, no, that's ridiculous. I'm not doing that. I'm going off campus and we're going to have fun, right? So location matters, all right? What's going to be out there when you leave campus? Is it going to be a cornfield in the middle of Kansas, or is it going to be the Bay Area, all right? Or SoCal, LA, right? You want to go to some place that's popping and you're going to have some fun when you go off campus as soon as you're done studying. So location matters.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, thank you guys so much for sharing those top 5 major factors. Now, the factors themselves seem pretty simple and obvious. Now we want to take a time where these are put into action and what it looks like to think through them practically. So Kyle and Ethan, you guys thought through these 5 factors, and how did you guys end up making the decision to ultimately come to UC Berkeley? So let's focus on the first 5 factors, and let's start off with financial aid and costs. So Kyle, kick us off, and then Ethan, please go right after.
Yes, sir. And so looking at the tuition for Cal as in-state resident, right, it's about $14,000. That's a pretty significant amount of money, but in terms of college and trying to get an education, it's pretty affordable, all things considered, right? Me personally, I only applied to 3 colleges because, tuition is very expensive, and so I couldn't afford out-of-state colleges, right? And so I took that into consideration as I was applying to colleges, not while I was choosing between colleges, right? And so I chose the 2 colleges, UC Berkeley and UC Irvine, all for that in-state tuition, as well as the United States Naval Academy, which is tuition free. And so trying to keep that tuition cost low, as I have brothers and sisters who are about to enter college, right? That's why tuition was a big factor for me. In-state resident, not so bad coming to Berkeley.
Awesome. And how about you, Ethan?
Yeah, so for me, I was choosing between Cal, UCLA, and USC. And so since I'm also in-state, Cal and UCLA were going to cost around the same for me. But USC was going to be about 3 or 4 times more expensive. This was obviously a huge downside to attending USC. And so I had to reason to myself that if I were to choose USC, it'd have to be roughly 3 or 4 times better in other aspects.
Yeah, it has to be triple the experience to pay triple the amount.
Yep.
Moving on to academics and majors. Kyle, please speak on why you chose Berkeley.
Well, one of the major factors I looked into as I was looking to apply to college is as a poli-sci major, what kind of resources will be offered, to me as a poli-sci major, right? So how extensive are the different classes that I can choose from, right? Diversity, portfolio in terms of like the various subfields, right? And so UC Berkeley actually has a top-ranked political science program with professors renowned around the world in their fields, right? So obviously that was a good choice, right? But not only that, right? What other classes am I going to take? Am I just going to take poli-sci classes? No, I'm going to take other classes. For example, I've been taking classes in data science and CS. Berkeley has a really great intro to CS program, CS 61A, to learn some intro CS skills. Maybe after I graduate, might dive into the tech field, right? But that's why academics are important, so you can learn things.
Awesome. And how about you, Ethan?
Yeah, so for me, I was fairly undecided about my major coming into college. So it really did help that Berkeley is actually very well-rounded. Through my own research, I learned that UCLA was good for pre-med. USC is generally pretty good for pre-professional majors such as business or journalism or film. But I personally didn't really see myself going down any of those paths with a high probability. So I was like, Berkeley's pretty well-rounded, seems to fit me. I was also a little bit worried actually about the class sizes, the student to professor ratio. As you can see, Berkeley has some big classes like the one that you see in the photo on the slide. But when I came here, I actually learned that Berkeley's class system is designed to accommodate those concerns. So what I mean by that is that most classes of more than around 50 people have 2 kinds of sections. One is lecture and the other is discussion. In lecture, the professor comes and teaches to all the students enrolled in the class, but we also have discussion sections throughout the week where we are broken up into smaller groups of about 20 students each and receive supplementary instruction from graduate student instructors. So class size ended up not being a big problem for me, even though I was originally concerned about it.
Gotcha. Thank you guys for sharing. Now, the next topic is safety. Ethan, did you want to talk about what is Berkeley like in terms of safety?
Yeah, so like Kyle mentioned earlier, safety is obviously a big concern at most universities, and most, if not all, colleges take this very seriously. So among the 3 colleges that I was choosing between, I think UCLA is probably the safest of the 3 based on crime rate, but I think the difference is actually pretty marginal. I've personally never been in a real dangerous situation in Berkeley. But one program that Berkeley has that Kyle also mentioned earlier is called Bear Walk. For those who are out late at night and don't want to walk home alone, maybe they're out studying late at night or off on the other side of the city, they can call a student officer from Bear Walk to walk them home. Actually, one of my roommates is, he works for Bear Walk, which means he's out working from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. on some nights. And this is really a pretty nice system that a lot of students can rely on when they're out late studying. And combined with other services on campus, it was enough to reassure me of my safety as a student. So you definitely want to look into those.
Gotcha. Thank you for sharing. Now, next is student life. This might be one of the bigger ones. And then Kyle.
Yeah, so student life, right? So me personally, right, I actually became Christian my senior year of high school. And so the Element group that I was with, right, they actually had a college, church here, and that was Koinonia, right? And so I was able to get plugged into that community and I actually spent a lot of my student life, a lot of my time with that group, right? And so I'm actually living in an apartment with some of my friends from Koinonia, right? So your student life, for all you college students out there, may not look like mine, right? But I can assure you there's going to be a life out there, with all the various clubs, all the various groups that you can find, where you're going to find people and a community, that matches your interests, that have the same hobbies and thoughts that you do, so I'm sure you can find that life here at UC Berkeley.
Awesome. And how about you, Ethan? Ethan, did you want to share on your student life experience as well? I don't know if there's lag or if you can't hear me.
Ethan.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
I think my audio cut off.
Oh,
But-
no. But can
Give
you
me
hear us now? Oh, his audio cut off. Oh, no. What shall we do? We'll have to wait. I'll stall. All right, guys. 2 + 2 is 4. But if you
I think I'm
multiply that
good.
by 4. Okay, wow, Ethan.
Yeah,
Back. Great.
just had to switch my headphones real quick. Sorry about that.
No.
I assume I should talk about student life.
Yes, exactly. That's right where we're at.
All right. So, for me, I was a little bit worried that Berkeley would be too intense for me, or cutthroat. The reality is that because Berkeley is so big, there are actually many different crowds of people. And while most people, they are pretty smart out here, only a selection of these students are what I would consider to be cutthroat. And so it ended up not being a problem for me. I'm personally really grateful to have found a really supportive, loving community at Berkeley that I feel comfortable doing life with. And so the other thing about student life that ended up being a huge X factor for me in choosing where to attend college was the fact that Berkeley students are passionate. So when I first visited on Cal Day 3 years ago, I was actually really impressed by how excited students got about that they're involved in. There are hundreds, maybe even thousands of clubs at Berkeley, and I like the fact that everyone on campus seemed to be advertising or promoting something that they were interested in or passionate about. And I can confirm that this is true this is true about Berkeley, and students here can get very invested in things outside of just their academics, which I think is really cool to see. I personally love playing soccer, and so if you look at the top right of the screen, that's a photo of me playing soccer with my buddies. Yeah, it's really cool just to see different people with different hobbies and interests just get invested in life outside of just academics.
Gotcha. Thank you for sharing, Ethan. Seems like your audio got a little quiet there at the end. I don't know what happened, but it's okay. We're gonna move right on. And look at all the smiling faces. They don't look cutthroat at all. It looks like there's only good times at Berkeley. And then now, Kyle, did you want to share on the final factor, which is location?
Yes, final factor, location. All right. So here at UC Berkeley, it's located in, obviously, Berkeley, California, right? So you might be wondering, what's around there? All right. Well, you got SF, you got Oakland, you got Silicon Valley for all your food, internship, fun needs. All right. You could go to the beach. All right. We got Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, like 40-minute drive away. We got Yosemite. All right. It's popping up in here. All right. So telling you, location, it's a prime place to be. All right. But one of the biggest things that I ran into, one of the greatest kind of things that I thought would be a downfall, but it turned into be a upfall. That's not a word. Well, it is now. Anyways, the best part about it is because I'm so close to home, having been from Oakland, right? I thought it would be bad because my parents could just roll up at 2 a.m. just to say hi. And they actually did that once. It was kind of crazy. All right. They just texted me while I was in bed. They're like, hey, we're outside. Come outside. And I was like, what? But anyways, I thought that would be bad, but it's actually been great because I get to visit my parents. I get to see them. I get to see my grandparents, see family, visit home, visit my brother, my sister. It's actually been a blessing in disguise. For those of you, who are scared that Berkeley might be too close, it might actually be a blessing. Your parents love you. They miss you. You're going to miss them. You might not think that, but you will.
All right. Thank you so much, Kyle. Well, thank you guys, Ethan, Kyle, for the presentation. And thank you for everyone watching and tuning in to our very first webinar on the topic of major factors to consider in choosing a college. Now, some closing thoughts. I know that choosing a college and university is a really important decision and it's really stressful. And I imagine it's even more stressful because we're in the midst of a pandemic. And there's a ton of uncertainty, but I wanted to encourage all of you guys with some closing thoughts that regardless of which college you choose to attend, that while that's really important, that ultimately does not define who you are. Speaking from a Christian perspective, we believe that there's a Father God who created us, who loves us, and our security and significance is grounded by the relationship that we have with him through Jesus Christ, not by any college we attend. And these are stressful times, but I hope that everyone listening will find peace, comfort, and security, and knowing that our Heavenly Father loves us and He's faithful to us, and for us to really trust in that. But I wish everyone the very best in making your final decisions. And that wraps it up for our webinar. But before you guys go, closing announcements. We will be continuing these weekly YouTube live seminars right here on the AYM Bay Area YouTube channel. Subscribe to our channel for the latest news on upcoming videos and webinars coming up. And if you're a high school student, we will be transitioning to a Zoom time. So right now, there are some people here in the Zoom call, but you guys can join us. It's like an exclusive backstage pass that's completely free. So it's a win-win. You guys get to follow up from the webinar if you have any questions. If you guys want to just connect, please join the Zoom link right here. That ends it for the live stream. So I'm going to stop this live stream in approximately 5 seconds. Thank you guys for tuning in. See you guys at the Zoom. Bye-bye. It's been more than 5 seconds.